So how do you get clients without being on LinkedIn constantly? That's what we're going to get into today. My name is Kevin. I'm a marketing consultant, and I also help other marketers build more profitable businesses. Go to kevin.me. You can subscribe to my mailing list. That's where I send all this kind of content for marketing professionals. Okay, let's get on to the video. So Brad asks, he says, great video and nice and clear. This is about a video that I just did recently. Thanks, Kevin. I'm wondering something. So you're obviously successful and up and running as a consultant with a good amount of work. I looked at your LinkedIn profile and saw you only have 1,216 followers and you don't do much posting or engaging. I'm curious. So many marketing consultants and digital gurus tell us we have to be constantly optimizing our profiles, building our followings, posting content all the time, and all the usual stuff. Do you have a different view on this? I'm finding it really difficult to accept that half my working life feels like I need to be focused on LinkedIn because it's a real pain. And if success is possible without it, I'd like to hear about it. Thanks. So let's get into that. And it's really super important because frankly, I don't think you need to spend all your time on LinkedIn. And I see a lot of people spending a lot of time on LinkedIn and not getting any really measurable business results, at least nothing directly. And so it can be challenging because on the one hand, you may get lots of engagement on LinkedIn, or you might be able to produce a lot of content. And in fact, maybe that's where you're getting your clients from directly or indirectly now. However, it's not the only way. And I'll just explain what I do to stay booked solid. I have a waiting list for clients and I have for a long time. And so this is just my method. This is what's worked for me. Keep in mind, I've been doing this for a little while. So I'll explain it to you right now. So the first thing is that I have tight positioning and therefore credibility. And so I solve a sub-specific problem, which is marketing. I don't do all the types of consulting for marketing, and I do it for co-working spaces, and I help them get full. I help co-working spaces get full. That's the value proposition for my consulting practice. And so that means that inherently there's a problem that needs to be solved all the time. And there's only very few people who solve it for that particular target market segment. And so I try to do a good job of making my content super specific and relevant to that target market, and essentially translating the world of marketing into very nuanced and very specific versions of it for that particular target market. So any content I do produce or any places I do show up, and we'll talk about where I actually do my marketing, I'm naturally going to bring much more relevance and much more specificity. And at very least, my positioning helps co-working spaces notice me, because at the end of the day, there's tons of people out there, tons of noise, and my positioning itself helps me stand out and give me additional credibility, because I also see the problems all the time. And I've worked with so many clients now that it's like I can spot things pretty quickly and get results fairly quickly and very consistently. So I've been doing this since 2014 was one of my first clients in the co-working space. So it's been a little while. I actually went full time in that niche in 2017, but I had years experience before that. And so that puts us at nearly a decade of experience working in the niche. So there's a bit of repeat exposure effect and therefore credibility, and I think that really helps. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, when I did get started in the niche, I created a lot of content. So I was writing daily for a while, and I wrote it to my email list, and that got people noticing, and some influential people and peers and other people in the industry, they just started noticing. So I used to do a lot more publishing, and maybe that's where this is getting a little confused. You're kind of seeing me at a much later stage in my consulting business. If I were just getting started again, I would probably produce a ton more content again, at least just to get my thinking and my ideas out. So I did that for a while, and then it was kind of burning me out. So I slowed down, and now I hardly produce any content on my blog/newsletter. But I do have a base of content. I've got all kinds of training resources. I used to run a membership for a while. I create free resources. A lot of people come in through an opt-in incentive for a marketing plan worksheet kind of thing. And email is the core of it all. So, content is still super important, but it looks a little bit different, which we're going to get into today. But I used to produce a ton of content, which opened the doors to additional opportunities like speaking and like getting in front of other audiences, which we'll talk about next. So content was super important in the beginning. And if you were just getting started, I would say publish a lot, so at least people notice you. Combine that with good positioning, and that sets you up to succeed with other forms of marketing, which I do currently right now. And so the next one is this idea of a borrowed audience. I call it the golden goose strategy. So instead of looking for golden eggs, AKA individual clients, I look for people who aggregate a list and or community and or network of these people in my target market. And I try to contribute two things. I try to contribute the value that I create, or my expertise, my ideas, as well as when I'm done recording or being featured in or doing that thing, I like to promote that person or that organization or that company, and or the article or the output, the podcast, if you will. And so that really helps. So I do things like doing webinars for the software companies who are in the space. So they will often do webinars as education, and they'll invite me on, and then I'll do a webinar for people and I'll teach some part. And then lo and behold, someone raises their hand and says, hey, can you help me do that? and I go on and do that. Speaking, so I've spoken at all the major sort of events in the industry, and that helps me just not only build credibility, but just get in front of people and teach stuff and kind of share my worldview a little bit and help kind of really cement myself as an authority in the industry. I also go on I guest on podcasts that are in there, and so I've been on all the main industry podcasts that I'm aware of, and I've contributed to many articles. So a lot of the co-working people, software providers, vendors, etc., and other affiliates, organizations, they're going to write articles. I've contributed to most of them, so I've kind of been published by many of these companies and given quotes to them, or I've contributed articles to, say, the local association, the industry association, the global industry association, and that's helped as well, probably to a lesser extent than the other things. But I really am focused on how do I bring my expertise to these places, and then part of my offer is not just provide expertise, which a lot of people have, but then also promote it to my email list that I got from creating and publishing a lot of content and building resources that create opt-in incentive for people to join. So that now, if I'm going to speak on stage, if I'm going to be featured in an article or do a webinar, I'm going to promote it to my list too, so they'll get the benefit of whatever credibility I have. I'll share that with the platform or the organization who's bringing me in front of their audience, and I'll promote it to them, to my target audience, which is right in their target market, and maybe some mutual goodwill will be passed between us. And I think that's the type of thing where 1 + 1 = 3. Both of us benefit from each other's industry credibility and associations and trust in the industry, and we give each other eyes on each other's audience. We kind of co-promote one another in that around this content, and I provide my expertise. And I think this is the key ingredient for the Golden Goose strategy. I have a training like this. You can head over to kevin.me, learn about my trainings and the membership that I have. But I have a training on this called the Golden Goose strategy. It's in the membership currently. Maybe in the future I'll do a standalone product on that. But you've kind of got the gist of it, and that this is a big driver of my results right now. It's not the only thing, and it varies by month and by quarter, but it is a big thing that helps a lot. So, but I don't think I would be able to do that if my positioning and credibility wasn't tight as a result of doing this for many years and creating a lot of content. And if I didn't have that proof of concept established and my thoughts out there, I don't think people would invite me in front of their platform. And I also wouldn't have an audience to also exchange as part of that exchange, even though that's never explicit. It's just kind of part of the package. So those are some things to consider. Now, the next thing that really drives a lot of results for me that can't be quantified either is in real life events. And so I traveled to 2 industry events usually in America, and I also go to some of the local ones here in Canada. And I'm either a speaker, a panelist, or an attendee. Sometimes I sponsor as well. I don't know which of those contribute the most, but what I do know is that meeting my clients that are my current clients, my past clients, prospective clients really, really matters. Meeting peers in the industry, it's a big thing. If you can get to know the people who are serving your niche, they're more likely to recommend you because you're doing different things and helping that same audience in different ways. So they're more likely to recommend you and vice versa. So building those relationships, building your authority, all really helps. And you just want to become well known in your industry. And that's the best way to do that is show up in real life at the events that your clients go to every year. And I go to 2 of them, and many of the same people are at both. And those relationships compound, and then they introduce you to someone and so on and so forth. And so I really think that there's something very irreplaceable about in real life events. And I would not change that now that I know that it works. So whether I'm speaking at it or attending or sponsoring or all of it, I really believe in the power of in real life events, and that differentiates you from just sitting behind your keyboard creating content. Because at the end of the day, it's very, very tangibly different when people really meet you in the flesh, and even meeting your clients and building those relationships in person. I don't have any clients local to me, which happened as a result of specializing. The more you specialize, the more your clients come from all over the world. So that's it in a nutshell in terms of the in real life events. It's super important. And I would be thinking not just how do I go to an event, but how do I go to an event where my target market goes to and that are sub-specific in the genre. So it's not just a conference for technology. It's like a conference for, MarTech technology, if that's what you're in, or whatever else. And if you don't have a clear niche, that's fine, but that's also going to hold you back a little bit. I would recommend having some specializations on your website and kind of doing the same approach, even if you're doing it in multiple verticals. It's harder, but you know what? That's the trade-off of being a generalist. You ideally want to find a very tight target market so you can show up in those places where they pay attention to regularly. And that's a very powerful compounding decision to make strategically in your business. And so the last one would be the industry and client referral. So clients refer me sometimes. Now, it's not in their best interest to refer me because from their perspective, I'm just going to get busy, and then I won't have time for them. And so I always like to let them know that, number one, I never take more than 7 one-to-one consulting clients at any given time. So there's never a risk of me not having enough time. I always make sure there's tons of time in my calendar, even when I'm booked solid. I've got lots of free time and flexibility to make sure I'm available for calls and feedback and correspondence. Number one. And number two is sometimes I'll give a little gift. So if someone referred me to someone and that was a successful deal, those are usually worth, $30,000 to $50,000 or more, depending on how long the initial engagement is, and then how long they continue on working with me. And so sometimes I'll send a little something, whether it's chocolates or a little. Once I sent like an Aura ring to somebody, I'm trying to or a Amazon gift card, Starbucks gift card, like little something sometimes, but I never promise that I'll do that. It's not part of the deal as far as they're concerned. It's always a bonus and a surprise. So I'll sometimes do that for successful referrals as well. And so generally speaking, this is kind of how it works. I kind of broke down my my framework. Actually, there's one more, which was a bonus one. I didn't know if I was going to include it or not, but I'll talk about it, which is retention. And so my average client stays with me 1 or 2 years. So I've take 7 clients at a time. So I really don't have capacity to take on much more than that. So it's kind of like being a lion, right? It's like your efforts are vigorous for a short period of time. Like I go and speak on stage, it takes a lot of energy and effort, and I got to fly across the country and put together presentations and wear some clothes and do all that stuff. And then I get, say, a client, and then they stay with me 1 or 2 years. I get to kind of like chill for a long time, right? And by chill, I mean on my marketing. I don't have to be as aggressive. I was recently on a podcast. I got 3 people reach out to me after that. 2 of them converted. 1 of them still in the pipeline. So sometimes these things can have outsized impacts. And I don't know if publishing on LinkedIn, if I publish more on LinkedIn, it would definitely help. But I don't think it's necessarily going to be the driver. So it's kind of, you have to kind of do whatever the highest likelihood of succeeding is. And if you have some of these ingredients, like you have a niche, you've got a proof of concept with your content, if you can get out in front of other audiences, that's going to be your higher leverage thing to do. But it takes a while to build that authority. And you really want to bring those 2 things, expertise and promote the thing itself. But what I was going to say before was, if you go to kevin.me/distribution, I put together a little framework that explains how I basically think about content and distribution, how it all feeds together. At the very top is my strategy, which is usually about positioning, which comes after it. So what's my high level strategy? How am I positioning and messaging myself? And then put that on my website. And then on that website, there's buy functionality. People can consume content, which is what I ultimately want them to do, is come to my website, consume the content, and then subscribe to my mailing list. But it's kind of like, bring them to your website through all the various means. And then they look around and go, oh, I didn't realize they have stuff for sale. Maybe I'll buy from them. And but in the meantime, I'll get on the email list. And that's really the main goal. So all my channels ideally drive people to an email list. On the website, there's the blog. I try to think of always be publishing kind of thing, is like find a regular rhythm as opposed to big campaigns and big pushes. Those happen sometimes, but mostly it's about creating a consistent publishing schedule. So this could be you on LinkedIn. You could still do LinkedIn. I'm not saying don't do it. I'm just telling you what I need is a little bit different at this point. And anyway, the framework goes on. You can actually listen to me talking about this graphic that I'm showing right now. And but basically, it's kind of a reinforcing thing. All that publishing you're doing establishes your credibility and authority, which helps you get in front of all other audiences, which then helps you get your ideas out there, which brings people back to their website, et cetera, et cetera. And it kind of works in a virtuous cycle. Go to kevin.me/distribution if you want to see or listen to a full breakdown of how all this stuff works. But that's it in a nutshell. And so, just to kind of recap, tight positioning, a groundwork of content, borrowed audiences, or what I call the golden goose, in real life events in your niche, and industry and client referrals, big things. And then the bonus one, which is actually number 7, which is retention. And I think that's the name of the game here, is how do you keep clients, not in a way that keeps you past your due date. Only work with clients as long as you're adding value. But if you can create high retention, then you don't have to go out and get lots of new clients at any given time. So hopefully this stuff helped, and something in here was helpful for you. And your business may be different. And so if that's the case, so be it. But hopefully some of these higher leverage way of doing things, it really comes down to good positioning, a body of work, and then getting that out in front of new audiences as best you can. And if you're finding it difficult to do any of this stuff, it might be a positioning problem, in which case you're not focused enough on your target market, or the problem you solve is not as clear, but hopefully this was helpful. Let me know in the comments if it was, and we'll see you in the next video. Be sure to like and subscribe if this is useful to you. And kevin.me/subscribe is where you'll get all this content for consultants. Okay, my friends, see you in the next video.